everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. And should we talk about?
We should. This is the first time you're seeing me without glasses because I just had LASIK yesterday and my eyes are still super fuzzy. So this is going to be. So I'm glad we picked a day when we're going to be talking about something I have to read.
Yeah, so today we are going to be breaking down a Kickstarter campaign in the romance category. So, one of the reasons we wanted to do this is because, we've been talking to romance authors, and a lot of them feel like there's just not a huge audience for them on the platform. And so, we wanted to just talk about some of the recent successes in romance. And so, we'll be breaking down this campaign. It is called Peculiar Tastes, and it's a contemporary fantasy romance series. Let me pull it up. Did you want to
Yeah,
add anything else to that?
I did because it's in the publishing category. It was like the big campaign in the room over the past. It just ended on the 11th, and so it was the big like
The belle of the ball.
yeah, it was the belle of the ball for like the past month or so. It got a lot of attention and it's got a lot of high profile people and it plus it looks great. I mean,
It looks
I
good.
uh I can't tell. I'm not a fantasy romance reader, but this first line that they had after in the story after what they what like they clearly added the first two paragraphs after the campaign was over. But this thing it says it's that time of year, friends. Moon is full and Simon approaches. Your invitation to the shadow market is here. 3 days of magic, drama, seduction, and maybe just a dash of human sacrifice. Like I am not like the reader for these books, but like I love Caraval and it reminds me of like the Caraval series, but maybe a little bit darker. And I'm like, I want that. Like that, it sounds so good. And this is that like hook is so important as we try and teach people in our course.
Yeah, that's definitely cool. It kind of reminds me of so I was in Venice, Italy one year for they do a big thing called Carnival there. And it's just like it's like this, it kind of has this like energy of like this it's obviously a river city, and lots of canals everywhere, so like people are obviously, they're running around in gondolas, but it's also they have like this huge square with I think it's St. Marco. So somebody's probably gonna like correct me, but I think it's St. Marcos. Do you know,
Yeah,
Russell?
St. Mark's Square, I
St.
think.
Mark's Square,
Close.
yeah. So I just remember going there during this event, and there was something like kind of mysterious and seductive, and there were like all these parties, and it was very like kind of it was kind of like a throwback to like simpler times when people did do this stuff. They dressed up and had these festivals and that sort of thing. So yeah, this is very cool. I am into stuff like this. So this definitely. I mean, it's interesting that they did it during this, like during the summer. I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that's so that they can deliver by fall when this, because I feel like the energy of this, even with the image and everything else, I mean, it's really kind of like a September, October, November
Yeah.
energy. Certainly like closer to like Halloween, All Hallows Eve, like some of those witch yeah,
Yeah.
like witchy
That Witchtober
celebrations.
kind of like, because that's one of the Kickstarter
Right.
things this year, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, witch starters coming to Kickstarter.
Yeah, it is.
And I
And if you
can't
had,
wait.
yeah, me either. Me either. I can't wait to back a whole bunch of stuff then. So, yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, I would say that most of these authors, or at least a couple of them, probably have a big like October release in this kind of genre. And so they were trying to pull it to a place that, summer's usually shorter. It's not shorter, but it is like less crowded in the publishing arena. So
Sure.
like it's probably just the time that these six authors like didn't have another big release that they could go, and that would be my expectation, because otherwise I would be like, yeah, this would be perfect for October. But given the names below, like these are all authors who are like super popular and probably have a bunch of releases, including like another series that they're releasing around that time. So
Right.
So this is so we have when we talk about in our system about the 3 questions and the blurb. It's like what we're trying to get to is somebody very quickly saying, "Heck yes, I want this." And so
Mm-hmm.
if you don't do questions and you just do one paragraph, like they got everything in one paragraph. I was like, "Yes, I want
Right.
this," and it's not even my like genre that I read.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't read the romance part of it, but I do read like the fantasy part of it and like the danger part of it. So, and especially like my favorite book series is Caraval. So like it's
Mm-hmm.
very much in this exact tone.
Yeah, and the reason we teach the 3 questions is because writing an actual like hooky blurb is a lot harder to teach, right? Like we're trying to make this like very simple for people and like very scannable. But I mean, essentially, it's just like, it's basically like talk about why your character's cool, talk about why like the world's cool, or like what why like maybe like who the target audience is, and then like make sure you sprinkle a ton of tropes in there. Like that's
Yeah.
what the 3 questions do for fiction.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And so, and like they were I think they were very smart in putting all of these like very successful authors together in one campaign because, like, all 6 of these people run a campaign. It's going to be a lot of it's going to be a lot more taxing on them. So, and a lot of romance authors are like, I'll do Kickstarter, but I don't want to fulfill.
right.
One way you fulfill is like, I don't know if any of these people are Bonkers Romance Press, but definitely not all 6 of them are, I would imagine. And so if you were able to like put something together and bring a bunch of people into one campaign where they can all pool their efforts and see the success from it, like that might be something for you. We actually have a campaign that's live right now based on a USA Today bestseller run that they did, and it hasn't raised $450,000, but it's raised $2,600 so far. And again, that's 20 authors in an anthology. I don't even know if you knew that was live yet. I
I
had to
did
go
not know.
searching. It did,
I
and it
did not know that was live
and
yet.
we did not know whether it would succeed or not because they had just done a long run of US to get the USA Today
Right,
bestseller or
right,
whatever. They're like
yes.
they dropped the price on it, and they were selling it for $10 now.
Right.
And so like and they and so like that is another way where all of them are working for one thing. Basically, any kind of way you can make an anthology, whether it's like this kind of anthology or an anthology of whatever different stories or an anthology that I do, like Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, like you're going to be able to focus everyone's attention and you'll be at least, hopefully, be able to get at least them to commit for 1 or 2 days. And when you have 6 huge authors, even if they're only each promoting it for a couple of days, like you end up getting that groundswell from every single person, and you can see they don't have a pledge level for just one. They might have
Right.
an add-on for just one, but the pledge level was you get all
Yeah, all
6.
6. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this model makes so much sense for romance. And this, it looks to me like this is a podcast, not necessarily a publisher. So
Oh.
maybe that's what happened. But I think it's a lot of the same reason why like romance authors, they sign with book box companies, and just it really just comes down to a lot of romance authors, they make really good money on retailers and other platforms. They want to dabble in stuff like this, but they don't want to have to do printing and fulfillment themselves. And so there is a huge opportunity for people who maybe want to develop a romance reader list, or want to, because whoever's running this project, they're getting all the people from this campaign, right? Like there
Yeah.
are, yeah,
4,095.
4,000 4,000 plus backers. You just got paid to build a 4,000 person romance list of like rabid romance readers. Um, but yeah, I do think that this is a really good opportunity for really anybody who's interested in building some sort of business around like Kickstarter and romance, basically, because I'm sure that it was not a hard sell to get some of these authors on, especially well, we know that one of them did their own campaign, Katie Robert. She had done her own campaign, whatever, 6 months ago, or whatever it was. And it's a lot of work to fulfill things.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Katie and Melody are part of the podcast as well. I don't.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry, Jenny and Katie. I don't see Melody as one of the authors in this, but
Yeah, yeah.
maybe she's the one that's fulfilling, or maybe
Right.
but yeah, I mean, they had an audience not just from romance, but from podcasting. And the way they actually did this, if you scroll down a little bit, is really cool, because they didn't make 6 books; they made 3 books that are flips. So
Oh, right,
on one
right.
side, there's actually a graphic a little bit further
Yeah,
down
yeah.
where
This
they
one.
show that, yeah. So it's
That's cool.
it's they do this in comics a lot, but I've never seen it in book in this same way, where it's just like you flip it. So instead of having to fulfill 6 books, and it's
Yeah.
probably, it looks like probably like 40 or 50,000 word, maybe, like maybe
Yeah.
even they may even be novellas, because I don't
Right.
see them,
So
like
some
it
like
doesn't look super thick. But yeah,
right.
you now have cut your fulfillment in half by only having to fulfill 3 books. And
Right.
I think that is also super smart. And then if you go down, you see like volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. So it's always going to be, significantly cheaper to bind one thing than bind 2 things of the
Right.
same amount. So like, might cost $10, $15 to bind one book, but to bind a second book inside of that book, might be $20. So you may
Hmm.
or maybe significantly cheaper than that. So
Yeah.
something that might not make sense as one does make sense on 2.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is cool. This is an explainer video of like what it actually looks like, which is really cool. You can see more. They have this cool vellum insert. That's a really creative way to, you know,
Like do a
use
print
like
that's also a
basically
bookmark.
print
Yeah.
that's a bookmark. Yeah. Um, this is cool. I know that they're really into like the artwork and stuff. So this is fun. Yeah, so this campaign was really cool. So do we want to talk about like things we loved about it, things maybe we might have done differently, or we might have asked questions about if we were consulting them, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the
Um,
main thing for that is they spend so much time on what it's going to look like, but they spent like literally one paragraph, it seems like, the whole campaign talking about the book, like what the
right.
books are. So, what the world is. Like,
Hmm.
I see a lot of the premise of the, like of how they got it together. I see some of the authors. I see what the book looks like.
Right.
I see what the art looks like. I see the like some of the character art, some
Hmm.
sexy time stuff, some book
Right.
plates. All of this is really cool. The swag box, I'd love to see a little bit more, maybe pictures of the swag box.
Though I
Um,
think sometimes it's secret on purpose,
yeah, stretch goals, like all of this really cool, but like, who
Right.
are the characters? What's the
Yeah.
world? Like you hook me in with this one thing, and now I only have like one sentence, like not
Right.
even blurbs for each book.
Yeah, and this is so common, and I see it for like romantic or like fantasy, not well, fantasy romance, of course, but also just like paranormal romance, that teeters on contemporary fantasy, where it does seem to be more about like just a really pretty looking book, which is important. But I agree, like they don't really. I mean, this is as much as you get about these 6 books, basically novellas, we assume they are, and that doesn't really play well to like new readers. So
Yeah.
it what it does is it makes your campaign really heavy on your current fans. And I think, do we want to pull up their kick track maybe, because we had some questions about this, and it's public data, so
Yeah, and if you're gonna run like, clearly Brandon Sanderson's was from a a fan centric campaign. Like, most people either were like, "This is so big, I'm gonna buy it because it's so huge," or were like huge fans that wanted all 4 things. But like, I'm not a huge Brandon Sanderson fan. I like some of his work. I don't like others of his work. And like I would have bought for $10. We ended up buying all of them because my wife is a huge Brandon Sanderson fan. But like, I don't know if I would have done it by myself. But I sat there like, man, I like Brandon Sanderson's novellas. Is this going to be like his novellas? Is this going to be more like some of the books I don't like? Like, is Arithmetist going to be in there? Because I did not like Arithmetist. Like, what's good? And like, whereas my wife was like, I like everything Brandon Sanderson, just buy them all. And if you are Brandon Sanderson or Katie Roberts, or you have a collective like this, like, yeah, you can probably just be like, we're all gonna just get our fans, and that's still $450,000. But if you're
Right.
modeling this as another author, you will probably not have very much success doing it, because especially if you don't have a fandom, like a new person, like when I remember going back a month ago, I read this, I was like, this is so cool. And I scrolled down trying to learn more. And I was like, oh, well, those are cool pictures, but like, they don't tell
Mm-hmm.
a story, you know. I just saw it,
Right.
and I didn't know that I don't like read those authors, though I know who they are. So I wasn't about to drop what, $25 or $40 on 6 books. It also makes it hard if you really like 2 of the authors
Yeah.
and they're in volumes 1 and 2, to be like, all right, like,
Right.
I'm not, either they have to be like, I guess I'm going to buy them at whatever price because I get all 3 of them, or you have to say, nah, I'm just going to wait until they come out later.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really solid, because this is like pretty common. So Katie Roberts, she did a swag box last time.
Sure.
She is kind of doing a swag box this time, and so it's a very simplified campaign, I think.
Yeah, this I
As a
really
result,
like.
I like
Like,
it too.
you know, for people that are like, the problem is people will say I only want one book if you just do the ebook series. They will do it, and like, it's not fair maybe, but they will. But like, if you don't care about that stuff, or you just want to sell all the books as all the books, then
Right.
you're missing out on like the $1, $5 pledge, who is
Mm-hmm.
most people are going to like pledge at that level, and then many are going to pledge at 25 and above. But like, you're missing out on a whole lot here, and I don't think that they care. But for
Yeah.
you as a person, like, you will have
You.
to
Yeah.
say, well, if it's, oh, what if only 7 people like you $25 enough, but 150 people like you $5 or $10 enough? Like, you're
Mm-hmm.
missing out on a huge swath of the people to get them in your ecosystem and into your buying ecosystem. So, but I do love this. Like, you know, if you want to cut down on if you have a series and you want to cut down in it, you can just say, this is the series, this is the art you want. This would be
Yeah.
akin to like when I do a pin or a
Mm-hmm.
bookmark or something. Like, we'll send you the art, and then paperback, hardcover, then then the swag boxes.
Swag
Like,
box.
I really like this as a, like, if you're doing a fan centric campaign, especially if you're doing a book box centric campaign. I don't know how I feel about it for like younger authors, and they're the ones who are,
Mm-hmm.
or people who've never done Kickstarter
Right.
before, because they're probably going to be coming for like 1 or 2 books. That said, Daniel Potter just did a book box series pretty similar to this, and he raised 12 grand. He was the
Right.
first person in our thing to go over 10 grand, I think, for fiction besides us. So like, maybe it is great. And if you were coming just one time to Kickstarter, like, you couldn't come back and do, like, if you came back to do this again, like, would you offer volumes 1 to 3, or they're just gone now? And that's one question that you have to ask yourself as somebody. They clearly seem to know this is the thing that we're doing this time, and the next time is going to be a different thing. But like, as an author, as like an author writing a series or something, like, how would this work moving forward if you just wrote book 7?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge with a campaign like this is that it works really well if you have a massive audience, but like the people that we work with, they don't. So what we're going to see is like a bunch of romance authors try to model this, and it's not going to work very well. And like, so then like, we just kind of see these patterns of things. So one thing I want to talk about is this, which is just the fact they raised almost 300K on the first day, and then it looks like 30 more days after that, and that's where the other 150K came from.
Yes.
um And
They could
so
have each got $1 million here.
right. We thought when it launched, we were looking at it and we assumed that it would go over 1 million, but it didn't even quite hit 500,000. So do you want to talk about why that might be, or what, and we're just kind of speculating,
Well, I
but
speculate based on the way that generally people launch romance books, especially in KU, especially well, all KU books, but because romance is, I think, disproportionately KU than others might be. In the same way that fantasy is probably like more wide than other things. How that model is basically, we are going to slam through in the first couple of days emails and get people in there and start ads, and then the Amazon algorithm is going to do its work, and like we're going to like up and up and up and up. But there's not a lot of follow-up email sequences in, well, really anyone launching books, but like specifically like in that one track of how to launch books in KU. And so what I think happened, and Katie or one of the people can come and tell me how wrong I am, but I think what happened is they all slammed their lists in the first couple of days, and then just were like, whatever, 400,000 is good. Like,
right.
when then they just let it play out, and they probably did a little bit. They may have sent one more email or did some social media posting at the
Mm-hmm.
end, and then and just to say, hey, it's almost over, and
Right.
because that's a month. So like, if you're sending a monthly email, all of you could send your monthly email in these first couple of days, and then in the last couple of days. And if I were doing this, that would be what I asked my commitment to readers be like, hey, this is going to be a month. So you can send, if you're doing a monthly email, you can send 2 emails, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see that the push at the end, which also came from Kickstarter promoting it.
Right.
But you know, this is a precipitous drop from day one.
Yeah, this is what I would say. So, like everything that Russell said, I would say this is not how it's great for that. I mean, they still made a lot of money, but like I do think that the way we teach it is that if they had kind of done it a little bit more like the way we teach it, it would have it would have been double at least like what it was. And they may not care about that. Like that may not be a problem for them. So like that's totally fine. But yeah, we normally see how high you go the first day. What we would like to see is much more like the second day you're hitting, kind of half of that first day, and then the third day you're hitting like maybe here, and we like to see much more of like a arc this way. And then toward the end, we tend to see more of this, and like the arc this way, like it's gonna land somewhere, and then we kind of like to see it maintained, I would say, and then a little hook up at the end again.
So if you go to like Brandon Sanderson's campaign, you'll see that they raised 13 million on day 1, 4 million on day 2, which is 40% or so. Then they raised 2 million on day 3, 2 million on day 4, almost 2 million on day 5, and then it kind of had this precipitous dip throughout, and then at the end it raised a million, 3 million. So like every day they were raising 400,000, but that in that bump, if that bump were to be less than, yeah, if that bump were to be similar to the romance campaign, they probably would have raised something like $10 million less, which is still $42
Right.
million. Like that's still $31 million. That's huge. But like you're talking like that is an obscene, like to leave that amount of money on the table would be would be painful for me.
Right.
So, and Brandon Sanderson, every week he did a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
He did new announcements. He did stuff throughout the campaign to keep the energy and momentum up as well. And what you want in that middle ground is not just to get more pledges, which you do, but you want people talking about and continuing to go to the campaign page to follow it, because once you follow it at the end of the campaign, Kickstarter will send you several emails saying it's your last chance, which is why this boost is not as high as the Brandon Sanderson boost. Even if you just look at the overall graph, like if you look at the overall graph, there's a much higher bump at the end for the Brandon Sanderson campaign. There's a much more gradual curve of that campaign as well.
Yeah, and you can see like I like looking at the backers per day for this because you can see like he has basically 40,000 backers the first day and then 20,000 backers the second day. So about half the number of the first day. And then it kind of goes, it starts to peter down from there. But you can see at the end he had like about, it looks like 15,000. Like it kind of matches, these numbers in here from the beginning, where if you look at this campaign, you can see that, like, I mean, it's 2,200 backers for the first day. I would expect it to be like 1,000 backers for the second day, roughly, but it like drops all the way to like 10% of that first day, like 314 and 116, and then they're already in the dead zone by day 4. Is really what it comes down to. And so, you look at the end, like that bump is lower, like it essentially matches those days 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's true on both these campaigns, but the difference is, Brandon Sanderson, he still had like a lot of momentum that first week. You can see he doesn't hit the dead zone till about, day 7 or day 8 of his campaign. And that's because during this launch week, I would assume he's kind of doing a little bit more and spreading out some of that love. And you can see it pays off at the end is really what you're saying.
It really does
the
pay
numbers
off
match that.
It does. And this is nothing against their campaign. I'm really not here to analyze their campaign. I'm here to analyze what it can do for your campaign. And when we're talking about like how to like if you had 20 backers on day 1 and 2 backers on day 2, that would be like much worse than going from 2,000 to 200, but it would be the same. As you are getting up into the upper echelons of publishing, like just you can lose a whole lot of money and still make a whole lot of money. But if you're modeling a campaign, like, and you do the same thing and you lose 90% of your backing and you only had 50 people back the day, or you have 5 the day 2, like you probably will have many days of 0. And that will be bad because, they're tracking, they're never hitting 0. They have this parabola where they sort of end out after day 4 or 5. But like you very well could. And if you want, the easiest way to maintain that momentum throughout the campaign is to build it on the first day and make sure that you have that ability to have a steady curve. And I think that they also are not helped by people finding this campaign and seeing that it's a $25 minimum commitment to come into the campaign. They may have even said, oh, yeah, we just wanted our fans to find it and do it. Like we were not doing any outreach, like intentionally we weren't doing any outreach. And that is possible. But a lot of the people that come in, but the reason I bring this up with Brandon Sanderson's campaign, because he also had a $40 minimum tier, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
And then like it was like 65 for the audio. Like he also had an all or nothing, and he was able to maintain the momentum in a way that this was not. And the only thing I can think of that changed was he did like a million times more media. It's not even like he was constantly in the media in a way that he did not have to be, both in the paid media that he did and just the free media that got picked up.
Right.
And so like I don't want to compare the two, but they are comparable in how they set up their rewards, which was paperback only, paperback and audio, hardcovers, and then there was like book boxes.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, it's a little hard for me to believe that people doing an anthology of any sort are only trying to reach their fans. But I agree. Like, yeah, it could have just been a fan campaign. But I also think like probably if you're in an anthology, you're trying to reach new readers. It could be that they were just trying to reach each other's readers. But I think like a little bit of optimization could have helped them reach more people. But
Could have
yeah,
helped them reach their, and more importantly, again, to bring this back to the people who are listening, like can help you reach more readers. Like, and having things on the lower end and making sure that you have at least 2 or 3 days or really 5 days of a really slamming promo at the beginning is really going to help you do the have a parabola that looks more like Brandon Sanderson's and less like this campaign, even though again, this is a hugely successful campaign that I think romance authors can take a ton from. I definitely want to steal that vellum, that vellum art idea, because I think it's so frigging cool. Like the rewards that they chose are amazing. Like the book was like the book that they like the way the book looks and feels like seems to feel just. I love how it like calls out to fantasy romance readers, like the silver and the preciousness of it. Like I love all of the things they did in the campaign except for telling more people about who they were, what they were, like what the world is, all of this stuff that if I were a romance reader, like, or if I were a romance writer and looking at this campaign, that would be the deficit that I would want to fix. But then definitely use a lot of the stuff that they did with the rewards and with that first paragraph is friggin' incredible. And with who they chose, like who they chose to be in the anthology is also like, it wasn't just 6 people. It was like 6 people that were very focused on the kind of they all had the same goal, they all had similar audiences, and they all could like move the other campaign along. And you have to think about that when you're doing a project like this, not just like, should I do a shared world with like 6 of my friends, but like I should do a shared world with 6 of my friends who all are doing the same, who all have similar audiences, who we could all move the needle on together.
yeah. I mean, they did an amazing job. They did a ton of stuff well, and um, I think you can do essentially you can take like everything they did and just because you're probably if you're listening to this, you may be a newer author or may not have the same size audience. You want to add in like the extra stuff that Russell said, basically, and make sure you have that also, because I think if yeah, like we've been saying, if you don't, then it may not really do as well. But
And if you're wondering what our system is, starting on the 25th, 26th. So if this is between the 26th and September 5th, like our course accelerator is live for a mini launch. We are only going to have it open for that small amount of time, and we're doing it because it is going to be $800 right now. When we reopen it, it will be $1,000 in November. But because our last campaign we ended at 800 and the next one we're opening at 1,000, we weren't comfortable like with that $200 gap. So we wanted to give people one more opportunity to get in at the $800 price. It is never going to be $800 again until we stop supporting it, probably. Like at some point, like in 5 years or something, we may stop supporting that one and maybe it'll go down in price. But like while we're actively supporting this thing, it will never be less than $1,000. And what's cool about this one campaign is for $1,000, you can actually include our bonus direct sales accelerator. So it will be 800 for the one for the course, 1,000 for that plus the direct sales accelerator. Monica, do you want to say anything about the direct sales accelerator and how awesome it is?
um, it's going to be awesome. So the direct sales accelerator. I mean, we're basically going to do what we did with the Kickstarter accelerator, and we're going to do it again with direct sales. And so as we bring people into that, we're doing a couple experimental beta runs just to make sure that we have the content really nice and tidy before we invite people in. And so we're doing that really only with our inner circle of students right now. So if you're in the Kickstarter accelerator right now, if you're in the Go Wide Grow Wide incubator right now, or if you're one of our clients, of course, which you're probably in those things anyway, or if you are if you join the Kickstarter Accelerator in this round, it's kind of like a mini launch round before our big launch later this year, then you'll have a chance to be in our direct sales accelerator in this round. So I think we're planning on doing another round before our next Kickstarter campaign, but it is probably this is probably gonna, this could be the only round. It's probably not, but still, it's the time. You're not able to get into it basically unless you're in one of our programs already.
Yeah, so here's the deal with Monica talked about how the Kickstarter Accelerator is like the direct sales accelerator. I can tell you, when people who got in on the ground floor paid $100 for the Kickstarter Accelerator less than a year ago, when we reopen it in November, it will be $1,000. That means they got 10x value for coming in early, and we feel like this direct sales accelerator, once we get everything right and working and clear all the bugs, and most importantly, find out what is the hardest part for you as a beta team, like so that we can build on top of that, it's going to be $1,000 or $2,000. Like once we figure it all out, like it's going to be, it's not going to be less than at least $1,000 and probably more like $2,000, because direct sales is the future of publishing. And once we hammer all the kinks, and most importantly, the thing that we find most people don't do with indirect sales when they're teaching it is actually have a beta team to tell them where their actual strengths and weaknesses are and what they need help with. And that is what you get to basically, just like the original Sprint with Us people in the Kickstarter Accelerator, tell us what we need to talk about, where we need to focus. And it will focus on the areas that like the beta team tells us. And if in a year the course opens and you're at full price and you're like, wait, why aren't you talking about this? I don't know, like, because there wasn't someone in the beta team to tell us about it. And then we have to put it on a roadmap and move it into the future. So like this direct sales experience, like it will not be $200, a $200 upgrade for long. Like, and if you are having trouble with direct sales, or if you're thinking about going into direct sales and you're having problems, like this is by far the most influence and hands-on we will be with you. Like we were so hands-on with those initial Kickstarter Accelerator people in a way that like people pay us $250 to $350 an hour for. Like we were so hands-on with them because we wanted the course to be right. And we'll be that we're committed to doing, despite the fact we have no time, that much hands-on stuff to make sure that this is the program that you want. So get into the regular accelerator, the Kickstarter Accelerator at $800. Definitely think about upgrading. If you don't, if like, I think you should definitely upgrade to the $1,000 one. And if you really want us to take a really deep, long look at your business, consider coming with us to our mastermind event which is the highest end that you can pay for, and you'll get so much more value with us having a full day to look into your business. So head on over to kickstartyournovel.com/buy. As long as it's between the 26th and the 5th. We look forward to seeing you inside both things, because like we know that that the Kickstarter Accelerator is like slamming. Like we know that you're going to get a huge amount of value from our incubator, and like we can only dream about how much this direct sales thing is going to change your life. But by the end of this year, we want to have an end-to-end solution for people who are looking to get out of the KU rat race, who want to like be able to slow down maybe, or to have more predictable income, to start with Kickstarter, grow wide with your stuff, and then have direct sales. And this is the first opportunity that you'll have to do it, to be part of the ground floor before our Kickstarter launches in January of next year, that we're talking all about direct sales. So go do it. And otherwise, we'll see you next time.
All right. See you later.